Building CRM 2011 Solutions. The process of building a solution is as follows. First of all, some planning is in order. Will this solution be exported as a managed solution? Should it be created in its own development environment to isolate it from other customizations? Which components are unique to the solution, which are shared with other solutions? We also need to make sure that there is a solution publisher with the appropriate prefixes, so we may need to create the solution publisher. Finally, we can create the solution. We add the existing components that need to be included. We check dependencies on those components that we just added to see if we need to add any dependencies to our solution or if we know that these dependencies will already be on the target systems. Then we can go and create any new components from within the solution to ensure that we use the correct prefixes. And then ultimately, we maintain that solution over time. Planning solutions. First of all, will a solution be exported to other CRM deployments? And if so, do we control what other solutions may exist on those deployments? Are we developing for internal environments that we control, or developing software for distribution to sites that we have no idea what solutions may be in place? Does this solution need to restrict customization changes? Do we need to prevent other customizations from breaking our solution? Do we need a production environment that's locked down to ensure that no customization takes place in production? Will the solution need other solutions to pre-exist before it's installed? Will we need version control, and will we need to apply updates? These are all considerations when we're planning to build a new solution. Selecting a solution publisher. The solution publisher helps to isolate solutions from collision with other solutions. It defines prefixes assigned to items created within the solution. And these are assigned to the entity, the relationship, attributes, option list values, and all solutions must have a publisher. When we create the solution publisher, the General tab contains a few items of interest. Of course, we must have the display name, as well as the schema name that will be used under the covers in CRM. Next, we want to pay attention to the prefix names for entities and fields, as well as the option value prefix. We've discussed this earlier, but this is where this is configured. We can also store the contact information of our organization or a publisher when we have customizations made to our site. So this is an ideal way of making sure that we know who to get up with when we're having problems with a particular solution. Creating a new solution. Anytime you create a solution on a system, it is an unmanaged solution. The only way to create a managed solution is to export an unmanaged solution and take the managed solution option during the export. That means the export file has just become a managed solution for import to other systems. The source unmanaged solution is the development environment, and it's important to recognize that you must have an unmanaged solution for your development environment. The following is required to create a new solution: the display name, a publisher, and the version in format major, minor, build, and revision, such as 12.5.305.3. Major version 12, minor version 5, build 305, revision 3. You also can specify a web resource as a configuration page, and this allows you to have a setup that is installed out of the box with your solution. So here's an example of an unmanaged solution. I showed you this screen earlier, but let's highlight a few items. First of all, we have the display name, which we were using sample solution in the one that I was using my example. As you can see, CRM has removed the space to build the schema name. The publisher is BITP. The version number, it's in the middle of typing this, which it does not show the correct format, but it's 111.0.0.0. And there is no configuration page that has been selected as part of this solution. We also can see some installation details. For instance, when it was installed and what the package type is. In this particular case, it's unmanaged. It has to be because it was created on this system. Adding existing components to a solution. You can add previously created components to a solution, but it does not change the schema names to match the publisher prefix on entities, relationships, attributes. You must create these within the solution to get the publisher prefixes for these types of solution components. There's a prompt to add required components when we add existing components. We don't need to add items that we know will already exist on a target system unless we've made specific customizations to those items and we want to include them in our solution. For example, if we've made no changes to a system solution entity, even though we may have a reference to it in our solution, we don't need to necessarily include it because all CRM 2011 environments will include all system solution entities. We may also have components that are included in managed solutions, where we're layering multiple solutions together to create more complex solutions. So if we do have an item which is included in a managed solution, that managed solution will be required to import the solution to target CRM organizations when we install our solution. And when we add existing components, we can also include configuration objects such as security roles, profiles, and templates. This is important because it gives us the key pieces that we need to tie together with other items when users start to use our solutions. Solution customization and maintenance. New solution components should be created within the solution. This guarantees the prefix and inclusion in the solution itself. Remember, the prefix applies to entities, relationships, attributes, and option set items. Other less critical items, such as customizations to forms, can be included later. But in general, it's always best to try and create all your customizations from within your solution to ensure that they're all properly linked together and tied to the publisher as well as the solution. Now, solution components can be removed and they can be deleted from a solution. Removing a component leaves it in the default solution, and all unmanaged solution components are also in the default solution. On the other hand, if you delete a component from an unmanaged solution, it will remove it from the organization entirely, and it will no longer exist either in the solution that you deleted it from, nor will it exist in the unmanaged solution. So let's spend some time customizing in a solution. To customize within a solution, we go to Settings, Customization, Solutions. This displays the list of all the solutions on our system, as well as other information, such as the version, when it was first installed or created, and the package type, as well as the publisher and description. We'll continue using our sample solution for our example. So, within the solution, as I've showed you before, we have the ability to go ahead and customize the components that are already there. I also can go and create a new component and add, for instance, a global option set if I chose to do so. So this would be the sample global. Now, because it's part of a solution, it's picked up the prefix from the publisher of the solution, and now I can go ahead and add my options, and you can see it picked up the publisher's prefix for that as well. Item 1 and item 2. So we'll save and close. This has now created a new option set, which is part of our solution. But if you'll notice, it's been prefixed. Had I created this sample global option set anywhere else, it would not be prefixed and therefore might be more difficult to isolate from other solutions if we are distributing to a multiple solution environment. If we take a look at our solution, not only can we include entities and option sets, but also we can include client extensions, web resources, processes of both dialogues and workflows, plugins, SDK message processing, and service endpoints. So in effect, anything that we might want to use to customize CRM, or for that matter, to extend it, can generally be included in a solution to make it much easier to distribute and for your end users to install. So let's take another look. Let's drill into entities and distributors. Within distributors, we have a number of forms which have already been created. Now, if I go ahead and add a new form, I can add a new main form and add a new section to this form. or for that matter, a new tab. So we'll create a sample tab. Now we'll add a section to it. We have two sections, so now I will go ahead and add an attribute to each section. It's important to recognize that when you are developing solutions, which may be layered on other solutions, that you may want to put your custom elements on your own tabs and sections to make sure that you can control how the data is accessed. This will prevent collisions. So keep that in mind moving forward, that at the very least you want to create your own custom sections which will be able to be identified independently. So now we'll go ahead and save the form and close. And always we would want to publish our customizations. Now, as you can see, our new form does appear as part of our unmanaged solution. It is important to note that you will also find it in the default solution because these types of components are stored only at the entity level. So the customizations that we're providing as part of this would get installed as part of installing the entity itself, which is why within entities that's the smallest unit of measure that you can see as far as adding something to a solution. So let's go to Distributor. As you can see, even though it's part of that solution, here it is. And all of the components and all the customizations are also appearing in the default solution. Deleting our sample solution from the system will not delete the customizations contained therein. They will just continue to exist in the default solution and no longer be packaged with the solution that we had created. On the other hand, if I delete something from a solution, then it deletes it from the system. Do bear that in mind. Exporting CRM 2011 solutions. Exporting solutions. CRM solutions can be exported, and this is done to share customizations to another CRM organization or deployment. This is used to transport customizations from a development environment to a test, training, or production environment. We also can use it to package independent system vendor solutions for distribution, or send updates of a solution to another CRM organization or environment. The process of exporting will prompt you to publish all customizations first, because unpublished customizations will not be exported. Next, it'll prompt you about any missing required components so that you can review to see if you need to add something to your solution that might not be on the target system that you're going to try and import your solution to. It'll give you the opportunity to include system settings if you need them. And finally, which package type to create, whether you want to create a managed solution package or an unmanaged solution package. Unmanaged versus managed solution types. An unmanaged solution just contains references to components which may be in other solutions, specifically unmanaged ones. These changes will affect the current top solution component in the solution layer stack. Unmanaged solutions take precedence over managed components and cannot be uninstalled. On the other hand, managed solutions contain a delta change for each component, the specific things that have changed to any component in the system. They're typically based on a system solution or a parent managed solution. Dependencies for components in a managed solution are enforced. One unique characteristic of a managed solution is that it can be uninstalled. They can also be updated in place with managed or unmanaged solutions added on top of the managed solution layer. And you're provided the option to override existing unmanaged components on a system when importing a managed solution that has changes to components that are currently supporting unmanaged customizations on the target system. Additional options for managed solutions. First of all, it's important to note that you cannot delete managed solution components on a target system individually. You can import or delete an entire managed solution only. That's the smallest unit of measure involving a managed solution on a target system. Managed solutions also give you the ability to restrict what customizations can be done to that solution. And this is accomplished by updating the managed properties of the solution before you export it as a managed solution. So these can be changed on the source system prior to export only, and cannot be changed in the managed solution on a target system. The default for managed properties is to enable customizations, and you can take a look at managed properties of individual components to override. Managed solutions allow a solution to be protected from customizations which could break it. So let's take a look at some examples of managed properties. This is the managed property dialog for an entity within a solution. As you can see, we have an overriding factor that says, can this entity be customized at all, true or false? The default for all of these will be true. So next we have the ability to control whether the display name and plural name can be modified. Can we change additional properties within the entity? Will we allow new forms to be created? What about new charts and new views? These are all controllable, but again, you must make setting changes before you export the managed solution, because that's what locks it into whatever configuration that you would like. If we'll drill down, here is the managed properties of an option set. And basically all we're asking is, can it be customized or not? Exporting solutions demonstration. The next two demonstrations, I'm going to demonstrate exporting a solution as managed and demonstrate a solution as unmanaged. We'll start with the unmanaged version. A solution export can be done from the Settings Customization screen, and I'm looking at all solutions. So I can select my sample solution and just click the Export button, which will start the process. The first step in the process is to give you the option to publish all customizations, which is recommended because unpublished customizations will probably not be included in your exported solution. We click Next. Now what it's going to do is to remind us that there might be some missing required components. In this particular case, we have a couple of forms that have been added to the distributor that happen to require the System Customizer security role. The System Customizer security role happens to be included in all CRM 2011 environments, so we don't need to include that, but it is letting us know which components are affected. We'll go ahead and choose to move to Next. Next, I can choose to export some of the system settings. This is an advanced option, but it will allow you to export certain system settings to be applied when the solution is imported, and that way to keep everything in track. Finally, we want to select the package type. Do we want an unmanaged or managed? Well, unmanaged is the default. So this will create an unmanaged solution package which can now be imported on any other system. In IE9, I'm now prompted with a dialog box at the bottom asking me if I want to save the sample solution, which I can choose to save, which will save in my downloaded files, or I can choose to do a save as and put it to a specific directory, such as my desktop, which I will do now. If you'll notice, it's built the name sample solution _4 03 1.0 to make sure that it's easy to identify what version of this file is. We'll go ahead and save. The other option is to export it as a managed solution. This works pretty much the same way. We click the Export button, we publish our customizations, we review the missing components, we choose the export system settings that we want to use, and then select Managed for our export. If you'll notice, our pop-up now has added Managed to the equation. So I will go ahead and save this to the desktop as well, and this will give us what we need for our next demonstration.